This is Let's Talk Tribe, the official Let's Go Tribe podcast, episode 57, The Draft of Indians Things. Recorded live on facebook.com/Let's Go Tribe on January 9th, 2017. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Tribe, the official Let's Go Tribe podcast. As always with your host, me, Matt Lyons, Jason Lukehart.
Hey.
And special guest, Merritt Rolfing.
Hello there.
Merritt, thanks for joining us again. I think this is the second time in like a month.
Yeah, it's been, right? Has it been that often? Wow. I'm like a regular now.
You're a once-a-month regular. And if anybody didn't notice, Merritt's doing more posts now because he does such great ones. We figured we'll just force him to do more.
Why not? Indentured servitude's fun. It's just, yeah.
when you get up to like maybe 20 posts a week, we'll let you out of the dungeon once in a while. But until
then, all right. I got a goal to shoot for here.
Just keep writing and just keep your head down. Don't worry. We'll feed you once in a while and you'll be good.
Yes, boss.
So, Jason, how are you?
Doing pretty well. I'm coming off my 2-week winter break from teaching, so yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah, are you glad to be back?
I didn't have to spend every day of break building baby furniture, only like half of them, so I'm doing well.
Do you have it at least almost finished now, or pretty close?
Yeah, the room's like 90. We need to buy a rug. Everything else is ready to roll.
You're a grown-up. You can use grown person furniture. I don't know. Is that against the rules? I don't know.
Well, toddler chairs are more comfortable to sit in.
Oh, that's
they're
true.
Higher, gets you up closer to the table.
Stretches out your labor rooms. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So for everybody listening, this show is going to be a little different. We don't really have any topics lined up because there's nothing going on. We're in January. The Indian side of Encarnacion. We've already talked about that to death. Last episode was our big celebration of, hey, the Indians signed him, and then he officially signed the contract. So that's over with and done. So we're going to do something new today. I was listening to the Effectively Wild podcast over Christmas break, so a couple weeks ago, and then I emailed Jason. I mentioned, because they did something called the Draft of Baseball Things, which was it was Grant Brisbee, Jeff Sullivan, and the two Effectively Wild guys. They were drafting just anything baseball. It could be players, things, abstract ideas. It was really great to listen to. Obviously, with Jeff Sullivan and Grant Brisbee, it was really funny, too. But there's a lot of insight and all kinds of good stuff there. And apparently, Joe Posnanski and Michael Schur, I think is how you pronounce it, they do it, too, on their podcast. So this isn't a new thing. But we're going to do the Draft of Indians things. We're going to adapt it to our own podcast. Maybe we'll make this like a once-a-year January thing or every so many episodes, or I don't know. I think it'll be fun. Just something different because, holy cow, it's January. I already said that, but there is nothing going on. So we're going to draft some baseball things. The order we determined before, it's going to be me, Merritt, and then Jason. And I should, before we even start, give an executive producer credit to my wife who had to receive our emails with our list. And she came downstairs, and the first thing she said is, what the hell are these? Because I've seen my list. I haven't seen yours, Jason's, or yours, Merritt. But apparently they're weird enough to confuse my casual baseball fan wife. So I know they're going to be good.
Perfect.
At least I hope.
You might be overselling at least my choices. I don't feel like I mean, so Jason, they require some baseball knowledge, I suppose, but they weren't like written in Dutch or anything.
Mine were written in Dutch. Was that not one of the stipulations? Okay, I'll rewrite them.
Were we not supposed to write them in Dutch? Oh. That was the rule number 1: is write them in Dutch. Come on. Okay, so the basic rules. I mean, it's basically just a way to discuss Indians things that we like. I mean, we're not drafting anything, but we're drafting Indians things. So, I mean, are you guys ready to start?
Yeah, let's get this going. I'm going to win whatever game these things will eventually play. Yeah.
This is the weirdest game ever. We should simulate it somehow.
I'm the greatest general manager in history. You'll see.
Since I'm the only one who followed the rules and I picked exactly 3, I'm going to go first to make sure none of mine get stolen. So we're going to go me, Merritt, and then Jason. I don't know if I said that already. I might have, but that's the order we're going to do. So I'm going to do mine first. Basically, for my first draft pick, I wanted something with Terry Francona because I love that man. He does a lot of things really cool. I thought about the scooter. That's cool. I like his scooter. There's just so many things about Terry Francona I like. But before I actually say the pick, I'm going to read a quote from our fearless leader, Matt Schlichting, in the first post that he ever wrote on Let's Go Tribes. He had this quote at the beginning, which was great. So this was back in June. This will basically sum up why I love Terry Francona so much. So here's what he said. He said, I had 17 the other night. No, that's not a lie. They're healthy. So if one's good, 17's got to be real good. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like borderline, like it was coming up, but I was so tired that I just laid there for about an hour and I was like, don't throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up. I should have got up and threw up. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, shit. So I started counting the sticks. They're so good. Obviously, I didn't get tired of them. They're so blanking good. Because Brandon brought 9 boxes and there's 6 in each box. There's 1 box left. So I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. They're good, man. And they have them on the plane, too. When the lady comes by with the basket, I just grab the basket like, I'll handle this. So if nobody's ever seen that before, that is the excellent quote from the fearless leader, Terry Francona, about the fact that he ate 17 popsicles. So my first draft pick is Terry Francona eating things. Because on top of the popsicles, he also bought $44 worth of ice cream before Game 5 of the World Series. I mean, if you're going to be superstitious and weird, you could say, that's why the Indians lost. But no, it's not. Terry Francona is great. He's just one of... My favorite thing in baseball and all of sports is having personalities, and Terry Francona has a ton of personality. And that one big block quote sums it up. The fact that he bought a ton of ice cream before World Series bought it up, or sums it up. So Terry Francona eating things is how we're going to kick off this draft.
I can't believe you've done this. You just take so many things, and it was going to be my first pick. Oh, my God. Well, you have such a vague idea, but it's literally I picked a thing that he puts into his mouth. So how could you have done this to me? Oh, man. What a pick.
You have like 8, don't you, on your list? I have exactly
but this one was so good. Oh, well, I have a better one, but still.
That quote, though, that's... Like, the way Matt said it in his first post is he had, like, quotes from actual leaders. Like, they were inspiring quotes, and then it's just that Terry Francona quote.
That's one of the greatest things he's ever done.
It is.
Is eat 17 popsicles. Oh, I'm so mad.
And that was back in June, too, so that was before the winning streak.
I feel like we're missing on... I want to know what type of popsicles they are.
Yeah.
Didn't he say?
That's a significant factor in just how bonkers the accomplishment is.
I thought there was some kind of like diet popsicles. That's why he said they were good. Like they were sugar-free or something weird like that.
Yeah, they were good for you, yeah. I imagine good grape a lot of grape and orange. I don't know why. Just kind of something that may stain more than you'd think. I don't know why. Yeah,
you guys both familiar? You guys are both familiar with like the freeze pop, which is just like the plastic sleeve with like frozen sugar water in it.
Yeah.
What is that?
I can imagine.
What do you think? That's like half a popsicle? Is that equivalent to a popsicle?
I think that's a whole popsicle. They're really long. You know, they're like a foot and a half long usually, right? I'd say that's a whole popsicle's worth of.
All right, because
popsicality.
I don't want to top Terry Francona, and he was an older man when he ate his 17 than me, but probably 10 years ago or so, 2 friends and I did polish off a box of 100 freeze pops in one day. I think I probably had at least my share. I think I had somewhere between 35 and 40 freeze pops in one night. Now, again, I was a young man at the time with a young man's metabolism. So when you account for age, Francona's 17 is probably still more impressive given his age.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you figure when you're a 10 to 12-year-old, scamp, you could probably 50 of those things with ease. I used to just have those in the freezer out in the garage when I was a kid. We would just sit out there and eat them all day. We're not even counting.
It's charming that you think 10 years ago I was a 10 or 12-year-old scamp.
I don't know. Whatever. What is time anymore, right? I don't know.
So we have breaking news on this. The popsicles were called Outshine Fruit Bars. They were grape. He had 17 grape Outshine. It says grape on Ohio.com.
All the same flavor. I think that adds a whole layer to it. I mean, freeze pops, I had 6 or 7 different flavors to rotate between. Mm-hmm. It's impressive commitment to go with 17 of the same.
Especially grape. That's a flavor that I like grapes, but the flavor of grape makes me sick after a while.
The flavor of grape is Dimetapp. Yeah, that's disgusting.
And also, I
like to drink cough syrup.
Made with real grapes, excellent source of vitamin C, no high fructose corn syrup, fat and gluten-free, no artificial colors or flavors, no GMO ingredients, only 60 calories apiece, although that's still over 1,000 calories total when you put down 17 of them.
When you spread it out, it doesn't count. I mean, that's how it works, Jason. It's math.
Plus, they turn to liquid, so it's literally nothing anymore. When they're solid, it's calories, but once they liquefy, science has shown that's not calories anymore.
So with me robbing your first pick, Merritt. I know what else I wanted to say. I realized this was in 2015 that he ate the popsicles.
He didn't do something else. No, he ate a ton of ice cream during the World Series, I think.
Remember, I mentioned that one too. He had $44 with ice cream before Game 5.
Okay, yeah. That's more impressive, I think. I mean, that's a lot of ice cream. I don't care if you pay.
Not. Room service at a nice hotel, $44
Excellent point.
worth of ice cream might have been like 3 scoops.
So, I mean, I feel like even if for $44, you're probably paying 10 times the amount. So you probably still ate 2 or 3 containers worth of. You probably ate a gallon or so of ice cream at 2 a.m. That's a lot of ice cream for a 65-year-old man or whatever, however old he is. That's a lot of ice cream. That's gonna create a situation down the line.
Not down the first baseline, you mean?
No, different lines. I don't know what his lactose intolerance level is either, so who's to say what happened with him?
If it's even minor, it exploded after that. So.
I believe the situation it created down the line was Michael Martinez at the plate with 2 outs.
No, Jason. I was just trying to steer people away from making a connection between ice cream and bad decisions. But now you drew a direct line to the worst decision. That came before. Well,
this will teach Tito to not, eat quite so much ice cream.
Every time you eat too much ice cream.
Well, what I was gonna pick.
Yeah, go ahead with your.
What I was gonna pick was Francona's bizarre blend of gum and tobacco that he chews on. But you picked all things he eats, so I'm very frustrated by that because that's disgusting to me that he chews tobacco and gum. Because I know he started chewing gum, but back when he was the Red Sox manager. Because he wanted to quit tobacco. But then he just started mixing the two together in a bizarre, foul blend that I just can't even begin to imagine the flavor of. I don't know. It's the most baseball thing on earth, gum and tobacco, I guess, but still.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't even mention that one. Yeah, so the whole big tub that he has behind him all the time?
Exactly, yeah. And then he just has a patch of chewing tobacco right there, too. And you're just like, yeah, you are just gross, Franco. Oh.
Gross.
Anyway, that's what I was going to pick, but now I'm going to lose whatever game we end up playing.
So pick one of your other 8 that you have lined up.
I know, but... All right, for my first pick, I select a scoreboard that can fit 150 buses. Now, what this means is, for those of you who don't remember this ridiculous comment by... who even made this comment? It was during the playoffs, but one of the color commentators, I think it was John Smoltz, but it could have been someone else. But he said, "Boy, look at that scoreboard, the new one, Progressive News. I bet you could fit 150 buses on there." And so that's always stuck with me because they did the math later on. I think it was like 34 buses or something like that. But yeah, that is my selection: a scoreboard that can fit 150 buses. That's a lot of buses, guys.
Was that during the playoffs?
That was during the playoffs. No, that was during the playoffs because it was some color comment. I don't know. It could have been any time at all, but it just stuck with me since then. And yeah, so that is my first overall pick, and I think it's a winner.
How do you measure the number of buses that fit on a scoreboard? I mean, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about
Well, if you were to theoretically take it down and park some buses on top of it, I guess is how he theorized it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it was John Smoltz. He said it. Reflog on Twitter, if you know who he is. He tweeted about October 26th, so sometime around then, obviously. And he did the math, and it was actually like 40.
Okay, yeah.
But John Smoltz said 150.
Yeah, on October 27th, Cleveland 19 News did a story on how many buses you can actually fit on the Cleveland Indians scoreboard.
That is a story.
So that is hard-hitting news, is what that is. So yeah, that's a great pick, and you'd be hard-pressed to beat that, even with all your vague Tito eating things, Matt, you cheater.
Come on now. Tito eating things is amazing. And so was 150 buses on a scoreboard.
Well, it's an amazing feat to pull off. How could you put all those buses on a scoreboard?
Has anybody done how big that scoreboard would actually be? That would be like the size of Progressive Field, right?
Scoreboard.
Well, I mean, it would be about 4 times the size of the current. If you can fit about 40, 150 is about 4 times 40. So you're looking at a scoreboard 4 times as big.
That'd be a big-ass scoreboard. I wonder what the biggest scoreboard in sports is. I wonder if that could fit 150 buses.
The Cowboys probably.
Cowboys have like some ridiculous scoreboard, or is there like 5-year-old scoreboard already like outdated?
Oh yeah, no, that was outdated within like 2 years. Yeah, somewhere weird has one, like A&M or something. Levi's Stadium, that's who it is.
The 49ers?
Is that really true? List of largest video screen. Let me do some quick professional. Okay, the Suju Sky screen is 500 by 32. That's a big ass screen. Jesus Christ.
You can watch the 49ers be terrible on a really, really big screen.
Mexico City Arena is bigger. Man, that's a big screen. Yeah, man, that doesn't even break the top 10. The one down in Texas anymore.
Oh, really? I thought that was the biggest. Wow. So
I mean, it was big for a long time, and I guess it's been topped by many different people.
I'm really not up on my scoreboard lore.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't been paying attention. Even Churchill Downs is a bigger screen now.
You feel like maybe it was a mistake to draft a scoreboard that doesn't even crack the top 10?
Oh, well, the Indians is 21st in the entire world. I mean, that's actually bigger than the one at AT&T Stadium. So
that doesn't crack the top 10, Merritt. That's what we're...
whatever. Well, I mean, you can't be topping people like New Century Global Center in Chengdu or Arena Corinthians in somewhere. I don't know where any of these places are. Many of these are transparent too, so I feel like that's cheating. I feel like if you could see through. So I think it has to be a traditional scoreboard. In which case, the Indians is like 7th or something. So yeah, I'll take it. I'll take a top 10. 1, 2.
We'll count it. We'll count it. So Jason, what's your first round pick here?
9.
All right. Well, 2.
9. There you go.
1. Are these all supposed to be like relatively current? Because I didn't get that memo.
No, I have a couple old ones. Yeah, it's fine.
And then 2, I'm going to take it down a notch here with a slow song, and it won't be quite as hilarious as popsicles or a giant scoreboard. But with my first pick, I'm going to go with Frank Robinson, and I'm going with Frank Robinson as a represent. Could easily have been Larry Doby or a joint pick, but I guess I'm going with the Indians' history of progressive and forward-thinking inclusion, which is pretty ironic for a team with Chief Wahoo as a logo. But I think the Indians arguably have the best track record of important diversity and things like that between the first black player in the American League and the first black manager or head coach in American professional sports. So I'm going to go with Frank Robinson as sort of my representation for that. One of the things I think is interesting about being a fan is that you start cheering for a team, and on some level, like, your connection to the team begins whenever that was. So for me, that was 1986 with the Indians when I was a little kid. But I think most fans, you also get drawn into like the pre-U history of the team that you like. So, like Bob Feller and the 48 team that had Larry Doby and Satchel Paige and, other great players. And there's something to me satisfying about cheering for a team that had Larry Doby and that made Frank Robinson the first manager, the first African-American manager. And then it's pretty cool that in his first game as manager, when he was still player manager, when baseball teams used to do that he hit a home run. Like, first African-American managing a game, and he hits a home run too. That's like,
I think it was his first at bat as well.
Yeah, like that's one of the coolest sporting days or accomplishments anyone's ever had, I think. And but yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys care at all about Indian stuff like that predates your own?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I finally read The Curse of Rocky Colavito, and as you'll probably notice from articles I've written of late, it's definitely informed on many articles I've written, whether I mention things or because I wrote about Jim Perry for some reason. But no, I mean, part of the reason you root for a team and you pay attention to them is because of the history behind it. You can't just root for what's going on right now. That's boring. There's more to caring about a team than just caring about the guys on the field right then. It's about the history and being a part of that, and even in some tangential way as a fan. And no, you picked a seriously good pick there, Jason. Damn.
Yeah, I like it too, and I like the history. Like I said, I read that one. I reviewed the No Money, No Pennants, or No Money, No Beer, No Pennants, which was the Indians around the Depression. That was really cool. I like that area of the Indians before they won with that was the very beginning of Bob Feller's career, I think, or something like that. He was there, but it was like near the beginning. But yeah, that whole era of before the Indians even won their 1948 World Series, I really like the whole building up the city around the Indians and trying to get the new stadium and all that. It's kind of reflective of like the 90s in a way. So I like that era. Even for me, the 90s is when I was a really little kid, so I barely even know anything about it. So I could still even read stuff about that too, which is probably sacrilegious, I'm guessing, to some people. And Jason too.
We'll give you a pass. But yeah, so I'm going with Frank Robinson as my first pick. And in terms of his time as a manager, he only managed the team for 3 years. It's not like by that point in his career as a player, he was obviously near the end of the line. So he often, I feel like, gets overlooked in the list of, important figures in Indians history just because we tend to understandably gravitate towards players.
The team wasn't very good then also. I mean, a lot of the 60s and 70s gets kind of glossed over because they were just dreadful, really. But this was just a moment in that time, which is in a very long, dark period. It was a real bright point, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you guys think we should be, not upset, but should Larry Doby get some kind of recognition or more recognition for being the first African-American player in the AL? I feel like that always goes unnoticed. Last year, I wanted to do like a Frank Robinson, or not Frank Robinson, Larry Doby Day on the site. We probably should do it this year, but I feel like nobody really does. We do the stuff for, why am I completely blanking on 42?
Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson, but nobody even recognizes Larry Doby at all, I don't think.
Well, I mean, I agree with you in a sense that he was the first in the American League, but he wasn't the first, so I can understand. Like, no one really cares about the second person to do anything, or at least the second first. I don't know. It's since the barrier was already broken in the major leagues, I can understand why people don't really care about Larry Doby quite so much. I don't know if that's right or not, but I mean, no one really cares.
It's understandable.
Like no one. Like, who was the second black manager, or who was the first black manager in the NL or something like that? I mean, I honestly don't know. So, yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I like the Oakland Raiders is they had the first ever black coach and Hispanic coach, and then I don't know who the second black coach or second Hispanic coach was. I mean, it was just one of those things you don't really think about because they didn't break a barrier. So,
I think Doby deserves more recognition than he gets.
Yeah.
Largely because when we talk about when we talk about Robinson, we talk about what he went through and having to be the first person to go through that, because the NL and AL were, until the World Series, other than the All-Star Game and World Series, were completely separate. Doby was the first black player in a lot of cities.
That is a fair point. Yeah,
the Dodgers weren't going to go, so I think he deserves more recognition. Even if that wasn't the case, any of those guys who are playing that to them, deserve a lot of recognition for that. But yeah, I do think as a culture, first means so much more to us than second does. I also think the fact that Jackie Robinson in his first year was already a great player and was an everyday starter. He was Rookie of the Year that year, was like 4th or 5th in the MVP voting. Whereas Larry Doby in 1947 only got like 30 or 40 at bats. So he wasn't as significant a presence. So while he was the first going into a lot of cities, he wasn't in the starting lineup every day. And then he went on to a Hall of Fame career, but not quite the same caliber as Jackie Robinson. So I think it's completely understandable why Jackie Robinson gets more attention. But it would be kind of neat if like National League teams honor Jackie Robinson on April 15th, the way all teams do. And then maybe American League teams on July 5th, which was the day that year that Larry Doby integrated the American League. Maybe American League teams could do the same sort of stuff, would be nice. Or both leagues could do things on both days. It would be nice if Larry Doby, got more attention. But
I wonder why he didn't get very much playing. I mean, was he just, I don't know. Again, I just don't know that much about him because he just never get talked about, really. I mean, I wonder why he didn't get very much playing time. He played kind of consistently. I mean, he was in a lot of games from July. I'm just looking at his game logs from 1947. And he just kind of, one plate appearance, one at bat. A lot of pinch hitting looks like.
So. Mid-season, and I think, there was some extent of mixing. And when you look at his numbers for that first year, he
he only hit 156. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really hitting. Yeah,
he came up later. He wasn't quite as ready as a ball player.
Yeah.
He was 5 years younger than Jackie Robinson was. He was only 23. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know the full explanation history, but looking at his age, looking at when he came up, looking at his numbers, it's not completely baffling to me that he didn't play more than he did. And then 1948, he was a fantastic player in his first full season, so it didn't take him long.
He had a much more conventional career in a way than Robinson did, because Robinson, like you said, came up when he was in the prime of his career, whereas Doby came up as though he were just another prospect. He was 23 years old, he just came up as though he were another prospect, which is an interesting way to look at it, despite the fact that he was breaking down a major barrier in American sports.
Yeah. So, Jason, that was a great, thoughtful, heartfelt, good pick, which segues me into my pick.
I'm embarrassed by my garbage now. Jeez.
which is Which is just not being the Browns. That's one of my Indians things I like the most. I mean that in a lot of ways. Like the biggest one that always comes to mind is watching the Browns like half-heartedly sort of like try to rebuild and then trade down in the draft, and they just don't seem to do anything right on the lower levels of the organization, in the upper levels anywhere. But the Indians are so good at building from the ground up, and they've done it for so long now that it's starting to pay off. Meanwhile, the Browns are just floundering, and fans are starting to leave them. Like at the end of the season, the stadium was empty for some games, so I'm hoping they start flocking back to the Indians, and just the Indians keep not being the Browns. Because even the Indians they hired a football guy. I already forgot his name. I'm terrible at remembering names, but to be their farm director, and then that seems like a good move. But the Browns did the same thing last year, and it just seemed like a grab to get a big name guy that was in baseball that was in sabermetrics, and who knows if that works. They went 1-5. Yeah, they went 1-15 after that, so that didn't work. So just not being the Browns. They know what they're doing. They're
sabermetricize. It's so hard to sabermetricize football too. I don't know. I don't really know what they're gonna do. Like, what is the what? I don't know. Yeah, I don't root for the Browns, so it's an excellent pick because
we need to find Robert Griffin's BABIP somehow. We need to figure it out.
Yeah. Like seriously, what is the inefficiency you're going to go after in football? There's 16 games. There's not enough time for you to work out all the kinks and like win in the aggregate. And
there's no like one-on-one like there is in baseball. That's the big reason you can do so much statistical analysis and stuff like that. Is because there's so many one-on-one things. Yeah, you could probably get by in football just scouting and gut feeling, which is fine because that's the way the football is. You can watch every single snap in a reasonable amount of time and still probably make good decisions.
Former Browns head coach Bill Belichick did do this with the Patriots when he went with the 3-4 defense early in the 2000s when everyone else was going 4-3, so he was able to get the pick of the litter, so to speak, with drafting. But I don't know, like, do you do something like that
in 20 years?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to be a visionary in football because it's like you said. It's I don't know. Plus, you're so affected by college football and like what's going on down there, and if they're not producing the players you want, so
yeah. That's another reason why I like baseball so much is you can find those kind of things. It's not just don't suck. You can be good several different ways in baseball, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the Browns are bad at everything in football. So, so my pick is just I'm glad they're not the Browns. That's an Indians thing I like so much. They're in Cleveland. I wouldn't even say they're the Cavs because the Cavs are leaning on LeBron James so much, and the Indians are built around so many players being pretty good to really good. So they're just kind of their own thing. They're not the Browns. They're sort of closer to the Cavs. So
I mean, they're definitely the best run team in Cleveland. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I would say. I mean, maybe the Erie Monsters are better run. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't follow the Cavs that much, but can you really call them well run? They kind of.
That's the thing. Like, they were terrible, and then they got LeBron. I guess the thing about basketball, you could be a poorly run franchise, but then you get the best player in the world. And like, you look at the Bulls for even when Jordan was there, their owner was still crappy, and their general manager was good, but not nothing special really. He found Scottie Pippen, but. I don't know. I feel like Michael Jordan would have done that to anyone. Just abused some young guy into turning into Michael Jordan Mark II. So
talking about the Bulls, Jason, this seems like the perfect way to segue into a video you tried to link on Twitter, but it didn't work. I watched it from the email, and it was amazing. Do you want to describe what happened to you?
Yes.
What was it, 5 years ago?
Tonight is the 5-year anniversary of one of the greatest yet also most tragic moments of my life when I was able to be one of 3 participants in what was then, it's since been canceled for whatever reason. They don't do it anymore. But the Bulls used to do what's called the Inflatables race. You can only imagine how many words that usually end in BLE, the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, hell yeah.
So the inflatable race is when 3 fans, each dressed in an inflatable Benny the Bull costume, have like a race back and like up and down the court twice. So it's like 2 back and forth on the court in between like the first and second quarters or something like that. And so I got to participate. First of all, it turns out those inflatable suits are made for someone who's probably about 5'6". So at 6'2", the eye holes were at a pretty extreme angle for me. So when I looked through the eye holes, all I could really see were my feet. Or where my feet would have been if I didn't have a giant Benny the Bull belly in the way. So visibility was low. And due to the low visibility, my lane was closest to where the player benches are. And you started by the Bulls bench and then went to the far baseline and back, and you had to do that twice. And the first trip down, I must have been angled ever so slightly and was headed right towards the Boston Celtics bench, where I would have had the chance to take out the hated Kevin Garnett. Security got in the way and blocked me and held me up for a good 5 or 6 seconds before they let me go. And then I ended up losing the race by like 3 or 4 seconds. So it was really the margin of defeat was that wall of security.
And then
yeah, it was. I suspect there was some betting involved that wasn't on me.
Some under the table inflatable betting.
Welcome to Chicago.
Under the table.
Huh? Yeah. I mean, once you get started with him, you really can't stop.
So the distance between you and Kevin Garnett, about how many buses could you fit in there, you think? 150, 120? What are we talking?
A short bus? I don't know.
I would say you could have fit a couple of Terry Francona's scooters between us.
Is that like our measurement? It goes bus and then Terry Francona's scooter?
Yes. There's nothing in between.
What else is there? Yeah. It's like the metric system.
Yeah, you can split the
bus is merely a mega scooter, a Centa scooter.
So that's my pick. Not being the Browns is it. So what's your second round choice, Merritt?
I don't know if I want to spend any time talking about this one, so I'm not going to pick it right now. All right. I am going to pick round 2. This is a tough one. I mean, he's officially an Indian. No, I'm going to pick this one because it's a winner. I'm going to pick Ichiro Suzuki's insane hatred of Cleveland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He once said he'd rather punch himself in the face than go back to Cleveland. And I'm going to pick that. Because I don't understand what drives someone to hate, of all places, Cleveland, Ohio so much. But Ichiro Suzuki, a man from Japan, no less.
He came all the way over here and just discovered that he hates Cleveland.
Of all the places, I hate this rust-built garbage pit. Dude, rude.
Is that really what he said?
Yeah, he said he'd rather. Yes, I am barely. I will try and find the quote for you. I don't know. Discuss amongst yourself.
So it's. I was looking up while you went through it. The second I heard he hates Cleveland, I'm like, all right, I'm Googling this. So his quote was, "To tell the truth, I'm not excited to go to Cleveland, but we have to. If I ever saw myself saying I'm excited to go to Cleveland, I'd punch myself in the face because I'm lying." Jeez, Ichiro.
I don't know what caused him to say that.
I'm glad you're stuck on the Marlins now.
Now, I know that they were the team that the Indians were playing when they got snowed out several years ago. They had to go play in Milwaukee, if you remember that. So I don't know if it had something to do with that, because he was still in the Mariners then, but I just don't know what drives someone to hate Cleveland so much. And
Joba was sworn with gnats or whatever those things, midges or whatever, and he was fine coming back to play, so...
Exactly. He came back and enjoyed himself in Cleveland for a little while. I mean, I guess it's because when the team's paying you to be there, you're okay with things, but...
No punching yourself in the face then. Did you know about that, Jason?
The quote? Oh, yes. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
The other thing, I believe... That was he spoke in Japanese and it was interpreted into English. So I wonder if the interpreter cleaned it up at all. I mean, it could have been even more extreme than that for all we know.
He's just ripping on Cleveland to the Japanese media. That's almost even worse. What's going on with him? I love Ichiro Suzuki. I'm not gonna lie, the man is a living legend. But that's just for reasons including that. I think just irrational hatred of all.
All of Japan just thinks Cleveland's like a burning apocalypse wasteland over there.
Apparently, yeah. I just love his irrational hatred of a mid-sized Rust Belt town. That's fantastic.
That's a great pick. I like that.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. It took a lot of thought on that one. That's one of the ones that wasn't on the list that I submitted. So it may be an illegal pick, but I don't care.
That could have been my third one, and then I'd be scrambling to get one right now because some of us only did 3, not like 12.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a draft?
Yeah, Matt, I'm glad you're not the Indians GM. Yeah, first it's like, crap, that was my guy.
Well, we're out.
How's this thing? I wasn't prepared for this.
No, I submitted them to our executive producer, my wife, and if she said one of them were copied, I'd pick a new one.
Well, you can get more immediate feedback from the executive producer. So, if she told me, "Oh, that's not going to work," it might have been 2 minutes before we started.
That's true.
And I mean, God knows, how could I possibly think of something Indians related that I like in the spur of the moment? I would have been.
It's very difficult. It's impossible. So what's your second round pick, Jason?
All right. Well, in Indians history, by far their greatest second round pick is Albert Bell. And so in honor of Albert Bell, with my second pick, I'm going with the 1995 Indians team, which remains the best Indians team of my lifetime. And while a team that wins the World Series would be satisfying in a different way, frankly, even if the Indians had won Game 7 or Game 6 or Game 5 this year, that would have been awesome. They still wouldn't have been as good a team as the 95 Indians team were. So I was 15 in 1995, so I was a good age for getting really into things. And that was the strike-shortened year, 94, when the World Series was canceled. People often forget 95 started a little late. So the Indians won 100 games in only a 144-game season. So 144, which was one of the best records in history. And they were just a blast to watch. Albert Bell was the guy that year when he became the first player ever with 50 doubles and 50 home runs. But of course, I mean, we can go up and down the lineup, in terms of great and memorable players. I think no matter whether the Indians ever win a World Series or not, the 95 team is probably always going to be the team I think of first when I think of great Tribe baseball.
They just beat teams to death, too. Like, that was... I know that Jim Toby playing third base. That's hilarious to imagine him playing third base today. Oh, what a team that was. It's almost cheating to pick a team like that. Especially the second round, man.
So you were 15 when that team came out, or when they played. Like, there's almost no chance, no matter how good the Indians are, that you'll feel, you'll have better memories because you were a kid then. Like, no matter what they do as an adult, you're never going to like a team as much. So that's pretty cool. You're locked in so much.
So much fun, and there's a lot of players on the Indians right now who I really, really like. But it's not the same, or it shouldn't be the same. There's something a little wrong with you as a 30-something-year-old if you have the same type of emotional investment in a team that you did when you were 15. Like, in some ways, my investment is like, it's more in depth. There's more nuance to it and all that. I know more about the team. I can actually watch almost every game and all that. But, like, that's different than just being 15 and, like, losing your mind about things the way a 15-year-old does. So yeah, you're right. There's really nothing that can happen, that can push that away. A World Series would be great. I really want them to win a World Series. But the 95 Indians are always going to be the Indians team for me.
They beat a lot of teams by exactly 10 runs. Like, they beat the Tigers 14-4. They beat Milwaukee 12-2 one day. They beat Chicago 11-1. They beat Kansas City 17-7. Well, I don't understand. They're just like, oh, we got 10. We're 10 up. We're good now. Just looking at their, on Baseball Reference, if you look at a team's like season, they have the graph where it has all the green and the red. There's so many high bars in this team. Good Christmas! What a team that was.
They won the division by 30 games that year, which I don't know what the record is, but I got to think, at least in the division era, I got to think winning a division by 30 games is, if not the very top, awfully close to the biggest margin of victory.
That's hard to do. Yeah, exactly. 30 games. Good Christ. How bad were the other teams, too? Like, what was going on with them?
They were just that good.
Well, and the Indians, I mean, what everyone remembers is their awesome offense. And, I mean, that's what I think of first, too. They led the American League in runs per game. But they also led the American League with the fewest runs allowed per game. So they weren't just a hitting team. They were really a great team, on both sides, with a ton of great players. And it's weird because between, Bell's career being shortened and Manny Ramirez with performance-enhancing drugs and Kenny Lofton getting sort of the shaft, I'm like 99% Tomei's going to get in. But it's a little weird that none of like the stars of that team are in the Hall of Fame at this point. Yeah. Eddie Murray's in the Hall of Fame, but that that wasn't like his those weren't the years. That wasn't the year that got him.
Yeah, he was a role player effectively in that team. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean one of the greatest teams in baseball history, and over 20 years later, none of its stars are in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, Ruben Amaro Jr. might make it in as an executive, so there you go.
Or a third base coach.
Hall of Fame third base. He will spin that arm.
So you guys know more about history than I do. What team do you think, like, people who are in their like 40s, 50s, or 60s who grew up in like that huge span of Indians where they were just awful or mediocre. Like, do they have a season anything close to that? I wonder. Like, cause at that point,
there was a year in the '60s where they almost made the playoffs, or they were like in third.
And that's the big high point.
And there was a year this. I was reading about all this stuff just for a couple different articles I was working on. But no, that's the thing. There's a reason the mid '90s Indians are held in such high regard. It was because they were so like. There's a reason Major League exists, right? And like they were so bad for so long, and they weren't even like dreadfully bad. They were just crappy. Just players you didn't want to watch, and a big ugly stadium, and then everything got perfect all of a sudden. And so there's a reason that team is held in such beautifully high regard, and like, they deserve it. I think that people who are in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, they look at the mid '90s Indians still as the high point of their Indians fandom, because what else did you have? You had the crappy team you went to go see get beat up by the other teams coming to town.
That's one of the reasons.
Everyone has. I mean, again, like the players from when you were a kid. Like between when you became a fan and, your teenage years, I think everyone, there's guys, even if they weren't, the same caliber as Tomei or Bell or Ramirez or Lofton, like you have the guys you loved when you were a kid, and that's going to be special no matter what. But yeah, in terms of like, man, that was the year. I mean, the Indians, they never even finished in second place during the 60s or 70s or 80s. I mean, they had some winning records in there. But the closest they were in terms of games back in the 60s or 70s was 14 games back. So there was never a season when with like a month to go, it was like, this could be the year.
Like, I happen to have a copy of Curse Rock Calavita next to my computer right now. Jack Kralik was Terry Pluto's favorite player back when he was a kid. Jack Kralik was a crappy pitcher. He was good for like a year. He was traded for Jim Perry, who ended up winning a Cy Young with the Twins, and then it came back to the Indians later on and was not as good as he used to be. But that's the thing. Like you said, Jason, like you have players from when you're a kid who you hold in bizarrely high regard because they were the ones that you copied when you were swinging a stick or a bat or whatever, and we just happened to look out by being, like I was a kid when the Indians were really, really, really good. It's one of the reasons, despite growing up in Connecticut, I'm an Indians fan. Like, whatever. Yeah. Shameless bandwagoning, whatever. I was 9. Get off my back. Jeez.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I think like you can never make another major league now. And when it was made then, that was like perfect timing because you have to find a team. If you're going to make fun of a team in a movie that hard, you have to find one that's been bad for a really long time. Like, what would be the closest now? I guess the Royals before they won their World Series, but that's over with. And that's even the Cubs had a couple good seasons. Like nobody was that bad for so long.
Like, it would need to be a team, too. Yeah, exactly. Like, it would need to be a team that people care about, first of all. Because that's the thing. People cared about. Like, the Indians, they talk about Cleveland being a baseball town now, and I wonder about that. Just because it's hard to watch, baseball just kind of suffers for fandom. But, I don't know. It would have to be a team that people care about, but also or used to care about and used to be good, but then became terrible for a long, long. And like you said, it's hard to be bad these days for that long. Maybe the Rockies, I don't know, but no one cares about the Rockies out there. Like, their owner treats it as like a toy kind of thing. So,
but I feel like if you did that to Rockies fans, they'd be upset about it because they're always close enough to being good. But the Indians were like they know they were bad for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And they were a special kind of bad where they were just like I said, just crappy, just not fun to watch and uninteresting, and had surly players that didn't like the town. And like, how could you hate living in Denver? It's a wonderful town in every single respect. And also, you could be a middling second baseman. You'll hit 25 bombs and have a great career or have a great season. So
yeah. Okay, so to start the final round here, my pick's kind of an obvious one. It's a recent one, but I liked it so much I wanted to pick it. It's Jose Ramirez's helmet flying off in every single way. It's the fact that that flew off and almost hit himself in the head. I think that's when it became a thing because it was doing that before that, but when it flew off and he kicked it and it almost landed on his head. Mm-hmm. That was when it started being Jose Ramirez's helmet flies off, and it's awesome. I mean, we even made a shirt about it, but I don't know the actual count. Zach Mizell had a count going. I saw it 48, but that ended in September. I don't know if it stopped flying off or what, but just the fact that your helmet flying off while you're running the bases is such a goofy thing, and then Ramirez is always so serious. I just love seeing him like he's so furious about everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he is adorable.
So he's an angry hamster. He's just always, and then we got that hair. When the helmet would come off, you could see it peeking out, and then it flies off, and the hair's out, and he's got that angry face and little cheeks. He's the best, and just the helmet flying off just adds so much to it. And that's my last pick is Jose Ramirez's helmet flying off, kicking himself or kicking it almost like if it landed on his head, it'd be my first pick, and I would win no matter what because that would have been amazing. But yeah, Jose Ramirez's helmet flying off is my pick.
That's a great pick. I think it's one of there was a great Twitter account that kept track of it too, because I became very interested as to the stats of the Indians' win-loss record when his hat comes flying off, which probably are positive because it usually happened when he was going first to second on a hustle double. And if he's going first to second, that means the guys are getting on base, obviously, which means that they're getting hits, which means they're probably getting runs. So I assume, without having any numbers in front of me, that the Indians were successful whenever Jose's helmet was flying off.
I do wonder, though, did it die off at the end of the season? Because I don't remember it quite as much. I don't know if he did something.
It had to have flown off at least once during the playoffs, but it's just we were kind of wrapped up in it being the playoffs, probably, that we weren't really paying attention.
That whole thing was happening, yeah. Okay, so what's your pick for your final, rounding out your team here?
I have two that I might pick, but I might combine them, as you so rudely did.
That was my pick. Terry Francona eating things.
That is what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick flying things in progressive field. Now, this could mean midges bothering a Yankees pitcher. This could mean Shin-Soo Choo earning a walk-off hit by hitting a seagull in the middle of center field. Or it could mean Edwin Encarnacion's parrot. It could mean any of these things. But I am pro flying things, spending time in progressive field. And that's my pick.
Smooth combination.
Oh, thank you. I had two separate ones. I had midges and I had Edwin's bird. And I was like, didn't you kill a bird one time? So I had to check that out real quick.
And he got a walk-off for it? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, he got a walk-off hit by hitting a seagull. Where was Randy Johnson when he killed that bird?
We can look it up.
Was that at home?
I can't remember off the top of my head where he was, but I know it wasn't Cleveland.
Damn, okay. Well, at any rate. Also, the Indians have several, windmills. So maybe they could, knock down a few birds as well. Basically, I think that Progressive Field's a deadly place for flying things, and I love it. A true new Death to Flying Things place.
And they do have a ton of seagulls, too. Like, I've only been to a few games, but if you go in, like, the early part of the season, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
I just remember them, those really dreary years around the turn of the decade. There was always just seagulls hanging out in the middle of the field there. Always. And, again, Shin-Soo Choo hit one with a line drive and ended up in a walk-off hit against the Royals, actually. So, why do you think Edwin Encarnacion has that bird thing he does? I'm not saying I don't like it, because I love it.
I don't know.
It's a weird affectation, though.
Do you know, Jason?
I don't know that it started as a bird thing.
To Google.
It was like a one wing down thing, which I guess on that, but like the parrot on his shoulder, I think is just something that someone on the internet created.
Well, obviously. I hope so. I don't know.
He didn't really think he was carrying a parrot around.
Well, no, but like Edwin Encarnacion didn't I don't think reference a parrot or anything like that. Him running with the one arm like that was his thing, and that's probably its own story. But whoever first put the parrot on there
was a genius.
Yes, and deserves credit. I wish I knew who it was. Maybe if I can find out, I'll drop it into the comments when this post goes up on Let's Go Tribe.
Well, at any rate, I hope I see a lot of it this year. I hope it continues it because it's such a delightful thing. I don't know.
It is.
I like expectations, I guess. I don't know. He seems quirky. I
love the reason he started it. Oh, go ahead.
I have no grasp what kind of person Edwin Encarnacion is either. I literally I don't know. Am I going to like this man? Who's to say? It's such a weird situation to be in, where usually the free agents the Indians have been getting have been just role players who you like or don't like. It doesn't really matter. They're not going to have a big impact probably, but this guy is supposed to be a central key point. Am I going to like him? That's a really good point. I don't know.
Like all the other core players we've followed coming up and we've seen them when they were rookies and stuff. And that's a good point. It's a different aspect to signing a player like that.
Yeah, because that's part. Like we were talking about before. Like fandom is more than just just rooting for laundry. I like to think that we're rooting for the people on the field as well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd rather they didn't somehow acquire Ryan Braun because he seems like a jerk. I mean, I'd still want him to hit a lot of home runs, but I don't want to talk to him ever. So I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. What kind of person? I've never read an interview by him. I've never heard him be interviewed. All I ever see him is him hit home runs and a hilarious gif of him having a bird on his shoulder.
So the reason he does it is even better.
Go on.
Because it was literally, it's like, when you're rounding the bases, you kind of hold your arm to make it, like, say, come on, get in, or stay in.
Yeah.
He was doing that once, and his quote was, everybody was like, that looked cool, you need to do it again. So he does it again. That's literally, he looked cool doing a thing. People said he looked cool, so he keeps doing it, and then somebody put a parrot on it, and now it's caught on.
I think it's great. Cool. All right, yeah.
Yeah. So good pick. I like that. I like
I'm proud of it.
Bringing everything together and combining them, and I mean, it's no Terry Francona eating things, but it's a nice pick.
Okay.
So Jason, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as I've talked about already, I'm happy with the Edwin Encarnacion signing, and I think he'll be, assuming he hits, he'll be well liked. But there is a huge amount of it's amazing what a different uniform can do for your opinion of a guy, because a ton of Indians fans were hating on Edwin Encarnacion during the playoffs this year. So it'll be interesting to see people who are tweeting what a jerk he was and stuff like that, tweeting about how awesome he is in a few months.
I mean, why did they hate him though? Was it just because didn't he have a really good ALCS too?
Well, he was getting upset too when Jose Bautista was. So I remember when I looked it up, I was doing that post on Jose Bautista whining.
Fairly typical fans. This is the stuff fans always hate on other teams' players for doing.
Quit whining, that sort of a thing. Yeah. Okay.
Right. But if our guys do it, they're being feisty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I will say, and if we go on about him long enough, he'll probably pop up in the comments. The Facebook comments for the podcast, like the last 2 or 3 times we've done it, the same guy has gone on and on in the comments about how terrible Edwin Encarnacion is. So maybe a few guys are going to hold on to the hate that they developed for him during that series. And I guess good for them.
I banned that guy last week, by the way, so that won't happen. We have the power to do that. It was every post he was doing it, so I just banned him. So
pretend I didn't.
Unless you just summoned him, like somewhere, he's like, "Wait a minute, I need to make a new Facebook profile and
my name.
Leave stupid things about Edwin Encarnacion on every single post."
With
I'm sure he's doing it.
The final pick of our draft, it got referenced briefly by Merritt already. But I'm going to go with the bug game or the midge game, whatever you want to call it. The 2007 ALDS game between the Indians and the Yankees, in which Bug swarmed the field, leading Joba Chamberlain to fall apart, leading Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez to look like idiots, and the Indians beating the Yankees, which is a key part of it. There's no way I would like the game if the Indians had lost to the Yankees. But I love that game. I love it because the Indians won. I love it because the Indians lost. I love it because it was so weird. And I love it because and I think I may have told this story already on the podcast, so I'll just tell the short version of it. But I was waiting tables and bartending at the time at a restaurant, paying my way through grad school, and stupidly didn't get that Friday night off work. So I'm working as a waiter while that game is going on, providing truly terrible service to my tables as I ignore them for long stretches of time. And my boss at the time was a Yankees fan, and a really obnoxious Yankees fan. And during parts of the game when the game was going well for the Indians, he was like hiding in the basement watching on the TV down there, just like staying out of sight. Normally he would have been like on the line, making sure everything was working well, but like he was doing just as crappy a job as I was that night. And but then the Yankees eventually tie up the game, and he comes like strutting upstairs all of a sudden, and is so I was miserable. And they when the Yankees tied the game in whatever that inning was, it was fairly late in the game. I want to say they tied it up in I guess they took the lead. No, the Yankees were. And now I'm confusing myself. At some point, I can't remember what even inspired it, but one of my coworkers said something about Alex Rodriguez and like how good he is, and like, boy, that A-Rod, he sure can hit. And I turned to her like loudly. The TV's like over the bar, so there's lots of people around me, and I was not quiet about it. And I go, "Fuck A-Rod and fuck you!" I stormed away from the bar. And I think it says a lot about my quality as a waiter and bartender prior to that night that I didn't get fired for this. But then it had a happy ending when the Bugs came in and the Yankees fell apart, the Indians won, and we all lived happily ever after. So
meanwhile, she's crying in the corner with her A-Rod jersey.
That game, that's my final pick.
And people, I don't know if people forget, but Chamberlain was unhittable that year. I mean, he was incredible. He was a phenom of phenoms. So I'm just looking at his numbers real quick. He had a 0.38 ERA. I mean, he'd struck out with 34 in 24 innings. He'd given up 1 earned run all year. He was excellent. And there was such an inevitability to him coming out of the mound, but then the Bugs just swept all over him and just started getting stuck in his neck rolls. And the video of that was just so gross at times, too. And meanwhile, Rafael Perez was just unbothered. Completely unbothered by the whole situation. Just such a stoic by the whole. I loved Rafael Perez, by the way. Those two Rafael, him and Betancourt. I don't know.
Fausto pitched a great game. Fausto pitched 9 innings.
Yeah.
Just the 1 run. And and then he and Perez were both unfazed by any of it. I vividly remember Jeter and Rodriguez spraying each other with bug spray.
And just hosing each other down, and then the trainer kind of just hosing down Joba. Oh, yeah, that was such a...
I enjoyed that in ways I probably shouldn't have.
What a game that was.
Yeah, so baseball could always be like that.
So I would like to point out, I don't know if the timing is a coincidence or not. Right as you said, fuck A-Rod in your story, Matt Biller liked the video. Right as you said, a little went across the screen, and that added to the timing of it, and it was great. So you got an agreement out of fuck A-Rod. So.
Damn right.
So that's our draft. I don't think we'll do anything with it. We can't make them play each other.
Win, obviously. With I forgot what I picked already.
The buses.
You should put up a poll and let listeners.
Oh yeah, okay.
And who won the draft?
That's a good idea. I'll do it in the.
It'll be embarrassing for you two when everyone votes for me, but that's okay.
Whatever. With all your heartstring pulling and picking actual things, I feel like that's cheating.
I had a guy eating popsicles and helmets falling off, so.
Yeah.
No, I had one that.
The only one I didn't, I had been hard over pick because this other one I had was, but I didn't want to talk about it because we talked about each one of these things for 5 minutes. My first overall pick was going to be Jim Thome's adjustment during his swing every time, if you know what I mean.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And you just felt like you couldn't limit yourself to only 5 minutes once you got going on that?
Would he look up all their Facebook Live show?
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
The adjustment hour?
But yeah, I was very proud of that, but I just didn't want to pick it because I didn't want to talk about it anymore. Moving on.
Yeah, what other good ones did you guys have lined up? Just real quick, I don't want to talk about them.
I had Billy Joel, Inferiority Complex, and Francisco Lindor's Smile, and Great Lakes Beer.
I almost did Lindor's Smile.
I feel like if we do this again at some point, I feel like the missing component is none of us are really Clevelanders.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some definite, growing up in Cleveland with the team things that we're probably missing. I'm sure someone would say, Old Municipal Stadium. I know the ballpark mustard is beloved. The atmosphere around the games, or maybe someone's train ride to the game or something like that. There's probably a lot of local stuff that none of us would really think of or hold in, particularly high esteem. So I think if we do this again, we should have someone like Phil on with us, to get that sort of perspective.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I forgot Phil. He's in Canada now. He's a trader. He's a turncoat, but he grew up in Cleveland, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we'll do that. Oh, this Merritt guy who was on, not even from Cleveland. What do we do that for?
Whatever. Midwesterners, whatever.
It's weird that I've talked about this before, but we're a Chicago-based site basically. There's 3 of you from Chicago. I'm from New York, and then just random people scattered over.
I'm down in DC now too, so we got everything covered except Cleveland. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I can't wait for this swamp to finally get drained. I can't tell you how excited I am. Oh, it's not getting political. Oh God.
God, what have you done? Yeah, so that was fun. I think we'll do that at least once in a while. I have no idea how often or when, but least once in a while, I'll do a little draft of Indians things. And we had a couple questions lined up, but the ones we had would take a while. So let's just kind of give our thoughts on one. And the Facebook Live, I pinned it so I wouldn't forget. Cameron Crespin, he wanted to know, what do you think about us not getting back Rajai Davis? So real quick, it's a topic I forgot about anyway, but it's worth talking about. Do you guys wish the Indians would have, or just what are your general thoughts on the Indians not getting him? Jason, if you want to go first.
I mean, I would have been happy to have him back on a reasonable contract. But when they signed Encarnacion, I just sort of felt like that was it for signing anyone for more than like a couple million. So I was sort of at that point resigned to the fact that Davis wasn't coming back. I like him. I have fond memories of him. Outfield situation being what it is, I don't think it's a significant problem or loss.
Yeah. Everybody has talked about the Mike Napoli heart and soul thing, but as far as seeing players talking in dugouts and just the general feel of somebody not there, obviously, I always thought Rajai Davis was a bigger part of the heart and soul than Mike Napoli.
That man had some of the best timing in the history of baseball. I mean, obviously there was the World Series home run, but I mean, just time and again, I know clutch is not a thing that you can really quantify, or even may even exist. Who's to say? But he just always seemed to I don't know. I had of all the people on that entire team, I always had a hope that Rajai Davis would come through with something at some point. But yeah, like Jason said, it would be nice to have him back, but it's not like it's a huge loss, I guess.
Yeah. I do wonder if the speed will make any difference losing him. It's like 40 stolen bases gone, but yeah, I don't know how important stolen bases are anyway. All those steals of thirds, the third base steals were both infuriating and kind of amazing how often they worked. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Did he ever get caught stealing third? If he did, it was really rare.
A couple times. I feel like he got caught a couple times, yeah.
I always remember hating him afterwards, but thinking, all right, well, you made it, so whatever. Just do it.
Well, I mean, I guess the hope is the math works out to you lose 40 steals and you gain 40 home runs. So that's good math, I think, in the Indians' favor. But
yeah, it might be a little better.
I mean, you wonder how the outfield's going to look. Assuming Almonte doesn't get popped again. I mean, he's essentially just he seems to me like just a younger version of Davis without the knack for stealing bases, I suppose, which isn't, really the main thing Davis did right. But I don't know. I think they'll be okay. I think I prefer. I don't know. It's fine. I don't know. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's not like he was a linchpin to the outcome of the Indians season. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts, Jason?
Nope.
So thanks, Cameron, for that question.
Thank you, Cameron.
Like I said, we had another one, but the other one was a really long one, so maybe we'll do that some other time. But yeah, that's basically our show. What are you guys up to the next week of complete baseball wasteland? Arbitration coming up. That's exciting, and nothing else.
Well, yeah, I have more articles I got to write. I guess got to find something to write about. Hey, listeners, if you have some great ideas for articles you want to read, send them to me, and I will write something. I don't know.
Also, please send a key to this dungeon if you can find it.
Yeah, also, please let me out of here. This may be a crime that they're committing right now.
I also wanted to know, because I'm looking at it right now, why is your Twitter avatar a picture of a sandwich?
I love sandwiches, and for the longest time, it was focused purely on sandwiches.
Your Twitter account was focused on sandwiches?
All sandwiches. If you go back to the early days, it was all sandwich updates. I had a sandwich blog. I love sandwiches. I think it's the pinnacle of human creation. So, yeah. And it's a great look. It's a pretty sandwich, too, isn't it? Look at that thing. It's been the same thing since I started having Twitter.
Well, it's funny because Jason has his for the opposite reason, because he hates Star Wars so much. So it's like a protest. Yeah. Like if I have this avatar, everybody will know I hate this thing. So
true.
That's how avatars work, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how
the thing you hate most. That's why Matt's avatar is so.
Exactly. In circles. I hate circles and I hate me. Me in circles is the worst. That's why I do it.
It's a good-looking sandwich.
I've never seen that minifigure, Jason, that you have. Did you get that in a set, or did you just go out and buy anything Boba Fett you can find?
That's actually my alarm clock.
What?
Cool.
Oh, it's an alarm clock. I thought it was a Lego minifigure.
No, it is a Lego thing, but it's like a foot tall minifigure that's an alarm clock.
That is awesome. Oh, it's sitting on a couch or standing on a couch.
Yes, you bop him on the head to hit the snooze.
Well, now you need a picture of it in working. I would guess I'm not the only one who'd be surprised to know that that's not a minifigure. That's no minifigure. Star Wars reference. Did you get that, Jason? Did you get that? Jason, that's a Star Wars reference.
Terrible. I I thought this was a turkey club for the longest time. I don't think it is.
That's turkey and ham, clearly.
Yeah, there's no bacon on there. And also, I'm not a big fan of the slice of bread in the middle, but I'd still eat it. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we had a Draft of Indians thing. It was great. Everybody, thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week, live or otherwise.